Hey everyone, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where today we are going to be helping Moonbrita with her investigation into the corrupted crystals and harnessing them for power, but that quest title has me a little concerned. An Uninvited Ascian. Let's hope this isn't too big of an issue. We're the Warrior of Light, we can kick an Ascian's ass. Lieutenant Edelstein appears concerned for Moonbrita's well-being. You must be anxious for word of your fellows. Lieutenant Alian has reported a sound victory over the main column, and informs me that the Scions have already turned their attention to other duties. All but one, that is. I have learned recently. It is canonically pronounced Rugadin, not Rogadin. And the logic is, or at least the reminder is, if it was Rogadin, it would be Moonbrita. But it's Rugadin, so it's Moonbrita. The Rugadin lady with a large axe, it would appear she has chosen to remain on the side of the battle. I know not what task keeps her from returning to civilization, but Northern Thanalan is no place to wander alone. Even for a capable sort such as her, I would certainly feel better about things if you could check in on her before you continue on your way. Alright, let's just go over and make sure she's doing alright. I'm sure she's just working on her experiments. Not a big deal. Hello there, Moonbrita. How goes it?
Hold on, I won't be a second. The beast seemed peckish, so I gave it a taste of my axe. I know. As Urianger never tires of reminding me, an axe ill becometh the hand of a scholar. What can I say? I like axes. To hear my mother tell it, I came into this world holding one. And it's not as if it stopped me picking up a quill, is it? I often think of the man who introduced me to the joys of learning. He's one of the reasons I decided to come to Eorzea. Him and my excruciatingly stiff childhood friend. Considering how unalike we are, it's a wonder we ever got on. The world's a strange old place, isn't it? Aye, that ought to do it. So far, so good. At these concentrations, it shouldn't matter too much if something goes awry. Just enough ether to make it interesting. Did you see that? The way the crystal glowed? The siphon works, I'm happy to say. With a few refinements, it should satisfy our appetite for ether, which just leaves the small matter of forging our blade. I'm not sure how to go about it just yet, but I swear to find a way. I'll put a blade in your hands if it's the last thing I do.
She senses me. A useful talent.
An Ascian. Are they onto us?
By your brand, I see you are an Archon of Sharlayan, keeper of knowledge, seeker of truth, meddler.
I don't know what the hell's you're saying, but I don't much like your tone.
Your instincts serve you well. But come, be not unsettled on my account. That lovely brow was not made for frowns. But I waste my breath. Let me direct my words to one who understands them. We meet at last, warrior of light. I am Nabriales. And you have long been a thorn in my side. I suffered the overweening presence of La Habrea that men might host the power of gods, only for you to undo my hard work.
Oh, bugger.
Do settle down. You must concede that I acted in self-defense. But what's this? I do not sense the blessing of light. Oh dear. Could it be that frail Hydaelyn has forgotten her champion? This I did not foresee. Shorn of light as you are no longer a threat. And better yet, the seal is broken. Now is the time to claim the staff. With it in my grasp, I shall rise above them all and take my place at Lord Zodiac's right hand.
What did that bastard want with us?
He said something about wanting a staff.
Nobrialis, he calls himself. With charm like that, I'll bet he has maidens falling at his feet, unconscious. But this staff, you say just talking about it had the bastard grinning like a brat on his name day. Must be quite a staff. Oh, gods. He means Tupsimati, Master Louis Soir's staff. Minfilia's in danger. We have to get back to the Rising Stones.
Okay, as urgent as the situation is, it is extremely funny. He simply stops her axe with a single finger, and her immediate response is, "Oh, bugger." She immediately knew she was fucked. Oh god, Moonbreeder, this is bad. If I'm right and the Ascian is after Tupsimati, then we'd best make all haste back to the Rising Stones. Minfilia must be warned. Alright, let's get moving, quickly. Back to the Rising Stones to protect Minfilia. Move, move, move. This is urgent. There we go. I got disoriented. It would help if they didn't put you in a random position every time you took an aetheryte. You're here! Master Louis Soir's staff is kept in the solar, isn't it? Quickly now.
You too.
So, you were able to divine my intent. What now, warrior of light? Ah, but that name is no longer fitting. You have become decidedly dull, and quite incapable of barring my entry.
What do you mean?
You truly do not know? Then I suppose it is only right that I enlighten you. The blessing of light kept you and your fellow meddlers safe. It was that which prevented my kind from entering your domain. My kind, I say, though it had no power over the likes of Elidibus and La Habrea. Being of this world, they could come and go as they please, while I could only look on. But I need look no longer. Now that the seal is gone, I mean to act. Unlike the others, I am not given to waiting. I shall take that staff and bring about the next rejoining.
Rejoining? Then it was your doing. The Isle of Val, the scholars, all of it.
You will not harm her!
Why must you insist on forcing my hand? Did you learn nothing from our last meeting? Ah, but I forget. My words fall upon deaf ears.
The staff is but a broken relic, a memorial to the departed. What possible use could you have for it?
What use? You mean to say that all this time you kept the key, never knowing what it was you possessed? The staff Tupsimati, or rather the stone tablet it bears, is host to a great power. Together with the horn, it can be used to draw vast quantities of ether from its bearer's surroundings. How else do you think Louis Soir was able to invoke the power of the 12 without making them an offering of crystals? Summoning requires not only prayer, but a profusion of ether. Even a child knows that.
If I did not know before, you may be certain I do now. But above all, I know that we cannot allow this staff to fall into your hands. I will die before I let you take it.
Insufferable woman. I would happily end your miserable life here and now. Alas, Elidibus would never let me hear the end of it. Very well. If you will not part with the staff, I will take you too.
After them! Quickly! Before the rift closes!
Wow, okay, they set up a whole lot of shit there that so many dots just got connected. That's very neat. Okay, one, they set up a reveal for several expansions down the line. That's very cool. We'll talk about that when we get to it, of course. Two, Nabriel, this was from the earlier cutscene in North Handling, but Nabrialis is the one who taught Shiva, or taught, Ice Hearts how to become Shiva. Apparently. The horn he mentioned, that was part of 1.0's Limsa Lominsa storyline, which I guess means Zabrialis was the Ascian involved in that. Oh, wow, there was a lot that happened there. Moonbrita, you rest. Forget about me, go! Alright, let me get my party together, and we will head in to the Chrysalis. Let's take down this bastard. Be back in a bit. Alright, we are back. We are in post-commentary. We had a few friends who were out today, so we've got a few friends subbing in. Let's go ahead and get minimum item level, no echo enabled, and hop on into the Chrysalis. Alright, let's see. A ruthless Ascian known as Nabrialis has intruded upon the sanctum of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, spiriting away both the antecedent and the powerful relic she refused to yield. Pursue the Paragon through the dimensional rift and prize Minfilia and Tupsimati from his grasp. Okay then, let's start heading in and talking about mechanics. Alright, so this took us 2 attempts. We are only going to be showing the successful attempt. This is a fairly simple fight, with one big mechanic at the end. So, as we get started, a couple things to note. He has abilities known as double and triple. Double and triple will double and triple the strength of his next attack that he uses, so healers be prepared to shield and heal when he uses double and especially triple. As we get started, he doesn't have too much going on at first. Standard mechanics. Tank wants to face him away from the party if possible, and everyone else fights. Let's see. There's going to be a few odd mechanics once we start getting a bit further in. But I guess we can wait a moment before we get to those. We've got plenty of time in this fight, I think. Took us a little bit of time here. We were just discussing the mechanics real quick to figure out how to solve the big mechanic at the end. It's a little bit interesting, kind of complicated, but really not that hard to execute. It might not be fully communicated well by the game, but it's fine. For most people going through synced, it's not going to be an issue. Anyways, let's begin. So as mentioned, healers watch out for him to be casting double and triple. That'll let you know when to really prepare to heal the tank, or shield the tank against that damage. His main attack is Spark. I think it just hits the tank. I don't think it's a cleave, but it's better to assume that it is, generally. Once he hits about 80%, we're going to move into Phase 2. And Phase 2 will add a mechanic called Orbs. So, there will be many orbs coming at him from the edge of the arena. Any orbs that hit him will give him a stack of a buff. The more stacks he gets, the more damage he will do to us, and it can get very lethal if too many orbs hit him. There are 2 types of orbs to watch out for. There's kind of the red glowy one that looks like kind of Sauron's eye if you've seen Lord of the Rings. This one. This gives you a physical vulnerability up. No, my mistake. This one gives you a magic vulnerability up. And then there's a second type of orb that kind of looks like it has scales. The scales gives you physical vulnerability up. You generally want to grab one type of orb and then the other, and then the other. You want to alternate back and forth, because when you get the magic orb, you lose the physical debuff. When you hit the physical orb, you lose the magic debuff. So you kind of want to alternate back and forth, because the physical orbs also do physical damage and the magical orbs also do magic damage. So you're trying to like keep yourself at no more than about 1 stack of the debuff, so that you don't get yourself destroyed by absorbing the orbs, while trying to prevent Nabrialis from actually getting buffed up. After the orbs are done, he will go back into his regular attacks, and eventually he will, at around 40%, I want to say, according to Console Games Wiki, which is my usual source for reading out boss mechanics, at 40% he will move back into Orb Phase again. It's largely the same all the way through that. Oh, he actually did this to us at 60%. Okay, so I guess it can vary depending on your DPS. So I guess at 60%, if you are not doing DPS quite fast enough, since we're on mine, that makes perfect sense. We're not doing DPS fast enough. He will start teleporting around the arena and doing big line AoEs. It's basically a fuck the melee DPS mechanic. He's just gonna keep jumping around, and the lower on health he gets, the more rapidly he will be jumping around to get away from us. It can be very annoying. Anyways, around 40%, once we get him down to 40%, he should begin the second orb phase. Here we are. Again, absorb the orbs, make sure they don't hit him so that he doesn't get stacks and become buffed. We generally try to have people stick to like one portion of the arena so that every portion of the arena is covered, but since the types of orbs that get spawned are random, it can be really RNG, whether like you might need someone else to rush in and deal with an orb for you. So like kind of stick to one region of the arena, spread out so that every area gets covered, but also be alert so that you can go in and cover another area if needed. Communicating with your party is good. If you're doing the sync, then like the damage isn't going to be that big of a deal. You should still alternate if possible to make it easier on the healers, but it's not going to be that big of a deal if you get multiple stacks of the same type of debuff. Anyways, after orbs, he will probably, I believe he will at this point, start doing the fuck melee DPS ability again, where he teleports the arena and uses line AoEs. He also has an ability called Quake 3, which does AoE damage to the entire party. About 2,500 damage on non-tanks if you're not mitigated or shielded. Which is very pleasant. There it is, there's Quake 3. Annoying, it did 2646 to me. The final phase begins at 20%, and the final phase is very complicated. 1, he will give you a debuff. 2, he will spawn a portal in the middle of the arena that will try to suck you in. You want to rapidly run away from that portal as long as you can until that debuff is gone. Once that debuff is gone, pop every single cooldown you have that will give you a buff. If you're a tank, your mitigations. If you're a healer, your regens or shields. If you're a DPS, your damage buffs. Every single ability you have that will give you a buff for some amount of time, pop it. Pop it and then go in the portal. When you enter the portal, all buffs and debuffs will have their durations multiplied by 10. If you had a 30-second buff, now you have a 300-second buff. While we are in here, there are several meteors falling down. We didn't fully understand how to do this at the time, but we survived anyway. We want the tanks to stand under each meteor to absorb them, to absorb their damage. We don't need multiple people. We mistakenly thought we did. We were wrong. Tanks will take the meteors to absorb their damage so they don't do splash damage to the whole party. The first meteor that lands will spawn an ethereal tear. Melee DPS 3 it, and do as much damage as you can to that ethereal tear. Destroy it as fast as possible, and when it's gone, we'll be out of the ethereal tear and back into the regular fight. If you take too long, there is a giant meteor in the middle that will kill you. Anyways, we made it out of the ethereal tear. I was dead, a lot of us were dead. And from here, it's just the last 20% of Nabrialis' health until he is finally done for. Not too hard of a boss. The big interesting mechanic is that ethereal tear, which can be very interesting to do if you do it right. But also it can get we got a little bit confused. We mistakenly thought that it needs to be stacks of people to take the meteors. No, it's just tanks taking the meteors and healers keeping those tanks alive. Alright, with that, I will meet you back in just a moment, back in the present day. We have finished the Chrysalis. Alright. 2 pulls, not bad. Could have been better, could have been worse. Let's get you out of here, Minfilia.
You're safe. Thank the 12.
You may have bested me this day, but what of the next? What of all the days to come? Remember, light no longer holds sway here. I may return whensoever I wish, again and again and again. Eventually, you will falter, and the staff will be mine. Until next time, Scions.
There will be no next time. This is the end.
What trickery is this? No, no, you cannot. No!
Use Tube Samati to gather ether. Quickly, before he breaks free! Concentrate! Call to mind the time you struck down La Habrea with the Blade of Light. Why won't it work? Is it because we lack the blessing of light?
Damn it. So much ether. And it still isn't enough.
Fools! No mortal prison can contain me! I shall make you pay for your insolence!
Please, Mother Heidelin, hearken to our plea. Lend us your divine light. Why can you not hear us? Do our words no longer reach you?
If only we had a bit more ether.
Moonbreeder, what are you doing?
Master Louisoix, I understand now the choice you made. In death, there is life. Farewell, Urianger. You damned old coot.
Moonbreeder, no! You mustn't!
What? No! It cannot end! I am eternal! I am immortal!
Moonbreeder. She's gone. You did it, my friend. The Ascian is dead. This device is a legacy of Moonbreeder's toils and sacrifice. I shall hold on to it for safekeeping.
Minfilia, are you all right?
I am.
Oh, we were surveying northern Thanalan when we received the distress call. We returned as swiftly as we were able.
It seems you have everything in hand, however.
What happened here? Where is Moonbreeder?
She gave her life to temper the Blade of Light. I have no words.
Rather than await the inevitable, she took her fate into her own hands.
Does Urianger know?
My friend, there is something I must tell you.
I heard all, my lady. The moon sinketh, taking her leave of the heavens, yet her passing heraldeth the coming of a new day. Moonbreeder hath fulfilled her destiny, hath she not? Long ago, far across the seas in the Charlayan motherland, Moonbreeder and I did study under the sage tutelage of Master Louis Soir. Full oft did he impress upon us that knowledge existeth to serve the greater good. This sentiment, however, was contrary to the nation's policy of neutrality, which censured intercedence in the affairs of foreign lands. In spite of vehement opposition, he founded the Circle of Knowing, and journeyed hitherto the heart of Eorzea. Through his noble sacrifice was the realm spared its doom. Yet this great soul, whom all should rightly have honored, was branded a pariah in his own land. His peers did accuse him of forsaking his duty as a man of learning, and of meddling in the course of history. When he left Charlayan behind, Master Louis Soir gave no word to signal his intent to Moonbreeder. Close as they were, as master and disciple, she was deeply wounded by the sudden exclusion from his confidence. Above all, however, she was confused. Try as she might, she could ill comprehend her master's motive. The slanders that were heaped upon him after his passing served only to inflame the turmoil within her. For years upon end, she knew not what to believe. Torn as she was twixt the man whom she revered and the man who forsook her and his duty both.
The Louis Soir I knew would never forsake his duty, much less one of his own.
This I know full well, my lady. 'Twas not for want of love that Master Louis Soir hid his intent. He but desired that Moonbreeder discover her own path, free of the shadow of his influence. Long did I contemplate revealing the truth to her, and long did I hold my peace. After all, was it not Master Louis Soir's wish that she come to the truth unaided? I told myself it was, and resolved to let her suffer. Knowingly did I deny my friend the comfort she craved. And now she hath gone to her rest, with doubt still in her heart. Speakest thou in earnest? Did Moonbreeder truly come to understand Master Louis Soir's will before the end? The realization hath set her free. She may now find the peace which hath for so long eluded her. Oh, Moonbreeder, my dearest, Oh, I shall miss thee.
Moonbreeder gave her life that we might possess the means to defeat the Ascians. Her sacrifice must not be in vain. Let us continue her work on the Blade of Ether and see it to completion.
My lady, I would mourn Moonbreeder in mine own way. I beg your permission to return to the Waking Sands.
Of course, my friend. Take all the time you require. We shall be here should you have need of us.
Rest in peace, Moonbreeder. The device was almost ready, but not quite. We wouldn't have been able to use it to channel any ether yet because we still need to do a few more tests just to make sure it'll work. We only had just begun testing it. It was not ready. It was too risky, especially right in the middle of Revenant's Toll, a major populated area in Mordona. Moonbreeder gave her life so that one of the Ascians may finally be put to death for good. This is still a major point of contention in the fandom to this day. Moonbreeder was quite literally fridged, which is a trope used in media where a character is killed, typically a woman is killed, for the purpose of furthering another character, typically a man's, character's development. In this case, Moonbreeder's death is there to push forward Urianger's character development a little bit. People generally are not very happy about this. Moonbreeder's death is... It's not even right to call it divisive. Brain, words. It's not fair to call it divisive or controversial because it's not like there's disagreement on it. People do not like this. I think narratively it's a good moment, but it's a huge disservice to her character because she's such a good, cool character with so much potential, and we only just got to meet her in patch 2.4. She had a lot of potential. There was a lot good going on there. It could have been great to have her around for a lot longer, but they decided to kill her off for Urianger's sake, for the sake of his character development. And nobody likes it. I don't think I met anyone who's happy about Moonbreeder's death. It sucks. This game, I love it to death, but it is definitely flawed. It has its issues. She was counting on the theory that a soul's ether burns brightest at the moment of its passing, a scholar until the very end. Oh, Moon, I miss you so much already. Would we had arrived a few moments sooner, just a few moments. Our list of grievances against the Ascians was already overlong. Must they continue to add to it? Alright, Minfilia, let's end this. Never have I seen Urianger so utterly defeated. No one should be made to suffer such grief. We shall gather in the Charlian Manor to celebrate Moonbreeder's life, and mourn her passing. Alright. Next summon Final Fantasy XIV. Is this the last quest of patch 2.5? I suppose I should probably elaborate a little bit on that last quest of patch 2.5. We're not even close to Heaven's Word. I mean, just look at this. 29% through patch 2.5. What do you mean last quest of patch 2.5? So, the tradition in Final Fantasy XIV is the last main story patch before a major expansion, the 0.5 patch, rather, is always divided into two halves. The first half will typically kind of wrap up most of the lingering threads from the patch series up to that point, while the remainder of the main scenario quests will come out in patch 0.55, and those will lead into the next expansion. It's not always a clean division of like, we wrap up the loose ends and then the next one sets up the next expansion. It's probably more accurate to say that like patch 0.4, 0.5, and 0.55 together are all setting up the next expansion, usually. Not always, but usually. But yeah, kind of the tradition is they'll split the final main story patch in two. Just to drag it out a little bit, yeah, but mostly to like give them time to finish the expansion, because they are, working on finishing up the expansion after patch 0.5, and they need time to work on that. And it's usually a pretty long gap, so saving some of the main story for patch 0.55 means that you're not going through that entire long gap where they finish up the next expansion, just doing nothing, except for side content. They give you at least a little bit to do by putting some of that main story in the 0.55 patch. So yes, I double checked. The next quest, In Memory of Moonbrita, is the final quest of patch 0.5. After that, we will be doing side content for for patch 2.5. This will be patch 2.5 and 2.55 side content, so all of the remaining side content for A Realm Reborn. Once that is all done, we will move into patch 2.55's main story quest to move into Heaven's Word. And I think we're going to keep up that pattern for all expansions. Patch 0.5, then the side content for that patch, then patch 0.55 to lead into the next expansion. Just because the lead into the next expansion is usually pretty direct. So it would feel a little bit weird to put side content after the main story when we are between expansions like that. Anyways, next time on Final Fantasy XIV, In Memory of Moonbrita. I'll see everyone next time for a funeral.